The project was approved by the board of directors of Kaiser in 2002. It was in a group effort with 3 template hospitals here, Antioch, and one down in San Canyon in Irvine, California. We're all more or less processed together in a new fashion with OSHPD, which is our regulatory body, probably the toughest regulatory body in the world when it comes to construction activities. To get it from design to permit took less than 2 years. Normally it takes 5. The permit was issued in 2000, just right at the end of 2004 when I came on board in November. That's when we broke ground here. The construction took 27 months on the hospital. The HSW, which is the Connected Medical Office Building, took a little over a year. So it was up and operational in October of 2006. The hospital finished in March of 2007 and opened in October 2008. We had a little bit of a delay because of financial issues within the organization. In terms of the stormwater design, one of the rationale behind our strategy here is that the city of Modesto did not have the infrastructure in place to support a 50-acre site in terms of stormwater mitigation. We had 2 options. We could go ahead and pay to provide that infrastructure, which was millions of dollars, and I don't really have the figures exact in my head right now. Or we could take care of all of our stormwater mitigation on site. And it actually, when we compared the 2 numbers, we saved well over $500,000 by going with the on-site. Plus, it fulfilled a lot of ideal or conceptual things that we were trying to do as an organization in terms of our environmental awareness and concern. Hospitals are typically very dirty buildings. There's a lot of waste, there's a lot of chemicals, there's a lot of things going on in the hospital that are concerning to environmentalists and the community. So Kaiser's stand is we want to mitigate as many things as we can, and by taking care of our stormwater issues here on site. And actually, this site takes care of every drop that hits it. Plus, it takes care of half of Dale Road and half of Healthcare Way over here. So we not only are taking care of our own stormwater mitigation problems, we're taking care of the roadways that we're adjacent to here. Essentially, what the concept is we have the permeable paving throughout the facility. You'll see areas like just on the other side of this area here that is standard paving, and the rationale behind that is that the master plan of this facility has another hospital wing being added and an increase of our diagnostic and treatment area of another 50%. So those areas obviously didn't make sense to put permeable paving in, so they're actually prepped and compacted and ready to go for that future development. But these areas that we knew we weren't going to develop on, and just to give you a quick overview, we have 2 MOBs scheduled to go on the other side of the complex over here, and 2 more parking garages is in our long-term future. And who knows what long-term means anymore in the healthcare industry. It could be 10 years, it could be 50 years. You know, we just don't know where all this is going. The idea behind the permeable paving is that we have, you can kind of see, this top layer is about 4 inches thick, 2 to 4 inches thick, depending on the road amount of traffic we figure on it. Underneath that is 2 feet of crushed rock, from 3/4 inch down to 2 inch through that layer. Below that layer is, we worked real hard to keep the heavy equipment off of these permeable paving areas so we didn't get extra compaction. So actually that, and they did take the top, well, you know, if we take 2 feet deep, we took a lot of dirt out of here in order to provide that base. And essentially it's a big leach field. If any of you have ever lived with septic systems, you know you have leach field areas where the water permeates down through the rock system and then eventually percolates into the soil. So all the water that hits these parking areas is percolated back into the water table. We happen to be very blessed on this site, as it is basically an old alluvial riverbed. We had, when we were putting in the basement in the hospital, we excavated 24 feet down. we were about 2 feet above the water table when we finally reached our lowest point. And within that 24 feet are incredible sand lenses. And the water just flows through this ground very, very well. So to not deal with the water on site didn't make any sense, because we don't have the issues like a lot of places do when you have high hard pan tables and lots of clay and not much permeability. So the site really worked to our benefit. Along the perimeters, these swells you see all through the facility are huge underground storage areas that provide the same type of percolation capabilities. There's a lot of huge crushed rock areas, and then that permeates down into the soil. So that kind of gives you a little background of the stormwater. Everything that hits the building, lands on the building, ends up going into stormwater piping anywhere from 6 to 8 inches into these various swells underneath. The roadway drops into the same thing. There's actually these compartments where the water that's hits the non-permeable surfaces rolls into an initial chamber that sorts out all the weeds and rocks and dirt and stuff like that, so that the water dropping into the actual permeable area is pretty well filtered. And one of our maintenance issues is that, I don't know, what is it, Ron, once or twice a year we need to get in there and clean out these sections so that we don't have the potential of a lot of improper material ending up in the facility.
We do that twice a year, and what we try to do is we cycle that with our neighbors who are shaking their almonds and picking their peaches, because it doesn't make any sense to clean it and then watch them shake and create a bunch of dust, and now we have a mess. So we cycle that with the harvest season. It's spelled out in the contracts, pretty specific, or the agreement I should say. We actually exceed what they asked for on the washing. They only want it once, we do it twice a year. We have the percolation beds off the road, those containment units are the sumps, and after we have the main rain events, anything over an inch, we have to go out and check our systems internally and externally to make sure they're functioning properly, and do anything we have to do to make sure they do function properly.
24 hours.
We have, I believe it's 24 to 48 hours to react to that.
Right.
We also just all brainstormed a little bit and came up with a proactive suggestion that we're going to move on, and we're going to actually take those sumps and we're going to have them vacuumed out to maintain the cleanliness. You know, rather than somebody diving in there and doing the bucket thing, we're just going to get them cleaned out. That's not even part of the deal, but we're being proactive to make sure that we ensure that the system's operating properly.
And so every drop of water that hits this site actually is put back into the local water table.